Now moving to the talent piece, right? I wanted to understand, because although AI is taking over, I believe talent is the most critical cornerstone of every company that'll kind of set it apart, whether it is a leadership or this thing. In terms of experience talent, right, Abhishek, what are the best practices to attract and integrate experienced talent within your workforce?
First and foremost, the most important thing is just have a clear JD, right? What exactly is expected out of an individual? Do not have gray areas. Clearly state what is going to be the key responsibility areas, what are the KPIs an individual is actually going to be driving. That is the starting point. If you have that clarity of communication, then you'll realize that you'll get the right talent at the right cost at the right time. That's going to be the first and the most important thing. Second is when there is going to be a combination of, say, experienced resources versus your new fresh talent, a lot of mentorship is actually required. So when there is mentorship given to those all fresh talents, then you'll realize that it is going to be beneficial for the company. That's going to be important. Apart from that, understanding the industry best practices in terms of compensation is going to be important. Say if a CMO of a retail fashion house is given X amount, so you can't tell that, hey, you know what, I'm going to give this person X minus say X minus 2 lakh rupees. You'll realize that even the individuals are also becoming really really cautious because they understand the market trends, what exactly is going in the market. So these all things need to be clear and as per the industry standard. Apart from that, you need to also make sure that each and every time there needs to be a flexibility in the work environment, which automatically attracts talents, let it be fresh talent or say probably experienced folks. At the same time, what you need to also focus is the culture essence needs to be kept, because this automatically helps in terms of attracting all those talents at the right time. So these are going to be certain key vital areas where we need to focus to make sure that we attract the right talent.
Got it. Got it. Thanks, Abhishek. So, Aditya, what are the benefits of bringing lateral hires into the team versus bringing in fresh hires?
I think for lateral hires, it just depends on the stage, right? Or the position itself. The higher the position, the harder it gets, right? So let's say, for example, we as a fintech startup are trying to hire someone from a very large bank to come in and lead a particular vertical. It's actually not really a lateral hire, right? It's so tilted that we wouldn't imagine, because no, apart from the expectation of wage and everything economic about the position, what you're looking at is this person that you're trying to attract coming in into a similar role uh, in terms of responsibility comes into your startup and is skewed because of the lack of process compared to this massive behemoth of an institution. The lack of process, the kind of things that they've been used to for such a long time, and it takes so long for them to really get into the program. But as long as the person that you're trying to laterally hire has a certain mindset, a mindset to get in, kind of plug and play, be entrepreneurial in their own sense, nothing like it. Because then what you're actually getting is so much more. When you're actually acquiring that person for X, for example, you're getting 1.5 or 2x, right, in terms of value, because you're getting all of that experience as one, as the core value of it all in base nominal value, and the delivery and the execution and ability mindset is just compounding that significantly more. So it's such a good thing when you're able to laterally hire with good mindset. But I think higher and higher positions compared to higher bigger institutions, the harder it gets.
I see this trend that once a person has spent 10, 15 years in a very process oriented organization, right,
Yeah,
it is very difficult for them to come out of it because everything is taken care.
correct.
And in a startup world or in a tech world, it's very, very nascent, and every other day, like, there is a new technology or a new language that is coming up every second year,
Yeah.
and then you are outdated if you're just not coping up with it.
Correct.
So, is there a balance to that, or it's just because what I'm thinking is that people are fast becoming, should retire at 45. If they are still an individual contributor,
Yeah.
if they are a person who can pull along a team, then they should work beyond 45, or else beyond 45, you know I think, if a person does not exhibit leadership potential, I
Right.
don't see much value for that person, because he can slot in less hours, he can slot in, he has more problems to handle, he has more commitments, then there is no ROI for me, is what I look
Correct.
at.
But work at a startup is you bang your head against the wall every day and you come back next day with a smile. Right? That's the job. Right. But again, it depends on what kind of institution that you're looking to hire from. For example, today we build technology for two particular companies, right? For many other companies, but I'm giving two examples. One is a international bank sponsored NBFC, massive. Almost every country on the planet, they're there. Huge presence in India. Top level bank. Very slow, very, very slow culture. Like if they, and I can tell you my sales cycle there for one particular SaaS product was 13 months. Like insanely long, right? At one point, I even asked him, boss, is this even in your roadmap? Like 8 trips to Bombay I've done, like, and I've had chai 6, 7 times. What are you doing? But, and because he's from Ajio, we built for the financial services arm, we built the capital markets lending tech over there. We just launched last week. So there, if I was to take it there, mentality is so aggressive. Fantastic team, right? I could probably take anyone over there, whether super senior, super junior, doesn't matter. Take someone in, plug it into a startup of our scale, and they'd get going. So it all depends on the kind of institution, the mentality over there, how aggressive you are.
Yeah.
Does it really match the ethos of your parent entity? And as long as the match is anything above, to be very honest, anything above 0.75 correlation, you're okay.
Fitment is the keyword, Gautam,
Mm.
more than talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add my 2 cents, right? Like, it's one is of course fitment of that person into the organization. It's also about, and I was reading this article, when let's say a senior lateral hire comes into a startup, right? It's like a heart transplant, right? You have to prepare the body also for the heart to come in, right? Which means that how, and there are ways and processes of doing this, saying that it's not that you just hire somebody and you found it through the panel and you're bored, right, and you get them on board. Can there be a 2-3 month long engagement that can be structured between this person coming in and the, let's say, the startup? And how do you build that engagement to see, is there a culture fit, is there a quality fit, is there acceptance, right? Because all of these things become critical when somebody, at least from a senior lateral position, enters a startup, to actually say that, okay, will this person come in and start delivering value maybe 6 months down the line, right? So all of this, like, even the org needs to prepare, and so does the person who's coming in from the other place. So it's like it's mutual, is what I would say.
I believe that it's more in the DNA of the person. If he's a more of a startup kind of a guy, right, then it's easier to integrate. Whether he's if he's been an entrepreneur even in a very big organization,
correct, 100%.
it's easier to integrate that person versus even if he's a process oriented guy from a startup, it doesn't kind of work. And
Yeah, it's a personality thing. Yeah.
I see that a lot of places, what happens is the board decides, okay, this guy is not good, changes the CXO. Okay, then what happens is that is the only thing that is reported on the media.
Yeah.
Okay, the CXO comes in with the 3 of his guys, and then the next 3 guys are replaced. Then the SVPs kind of, VPs kind of replace the managerial level. This entire organizational seep through that happens at a CXO level will take 8 months to promulgate. In 8 months' time, you've changed the DNA of the entire organization. So a CXO switch at a lateral level that you're doing is going to change the entire organization. Housing.com was one fantastic example of that.
Right.
Long back, we're talking about it. The moment it was changed, even BharatPe for that matter, the moment, the leadership changes, people are accustomed to working in one certain environment. I think lateral hires more at a junior level, say 5-10 years, it's okay. But when you're doing it at a top level,
Correct.
I believe you should have consensus of everybody, even if one person disagrees. kind of drop it. So when we do lateral hires
veto.
for GCCs at a leadership level, right, we kind of make them talk to even the people who will report to them at say N-3 level,
Yeah.
and see if their values all align. And we also, we don't call it a psychometric test, but we call it a more personality matching thing, that we make the person who is hiring and the person who is joining take up to see if there is a fitment.
Correct.
Or else in the long run it would kind of fall apart, right?
Correct.
So
I
that's
feel one key thing which is really underrated, both from an organizational standpoint and an individual standpoint, is adaptability. Right? If an individual is not able to adapt in that environment, then you realize that that's not going to be the right fit. At the same time, even for an organization, if they, I mean, it is just not about an individual. At the end of the day, it's like a marriage, right? There needs to be a marriage between both these systems, an individual and the ecosystem where an individual is actually going to fit. So that adaptability is something which is going to be very important at the end of